All righty. Hello. Welcome back to another North Node Live. I'm your host, Maggie Kirkwood. Today, we have such a fabulous guest with a fabulous name and accent to boot. Welcome to the show, William Hardcastle.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here, Maggie.
I think one of the reasons I'm just so excited you're a part of the conversation today. It's really this idea that we are so much more than our beliefs. And I kind of just want to get straight into your story so people can hear the wisdom you have to share. But yeah, the title of this episode is Manifesting Miracles. William truly has an incredible story to share, and we're going to kind of dive right into it. But thank you, William, so much for being here, and thank you, everyone, for tuning in today.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And thank you, Maggie, for kind of giving me the space to share what I went through and the amazing story that kind of unfolded because of it. Jumping straight in, long story short, I had a very bad accident in 2017 that left me with partial paralysis from below my knee. Doctors said that I'd never walk again. They ran tests, electrolysis tests on my leg, which basically sent voltage down there, didn't fire the nervous system at all. It was very upsetting. It kind of sent me into a deep depression, which led to me discovering a new hobby of mine, which was reading, which then got me into reading about ancient civilizations and how they did things differently, which led me down the path of natural medicine. And one thing led to another. And through the power of, timing and manifestation, anything like that, and state of mind, I was able to clear that neural blockage, whatever happened during my accident that disallowed me from using my foot on my left leg, and it I got into a meditative state that allowed me to clear that paralysis and change my life forever, really.
Alrighty. I'm just still kind of tinkering around here because I want to make sure we're live in all the right places here. So there's a lot to unpack. I kind of want to frame this up just for the audience, just because from what I know of you, you are living such a drastically different life than I think you once imagined you would be. So can you kind of set the stage for us, like pre-accident? You're from Windsor, aren't you? My one connection.
I was born in Windsor, which is about half an hour outside of London, west of London. But I grew up in another half an hour out from that in the countryside in a small village called Pangbourne, which is very beautiful. Very, very lucky to be brought up in that part of the world. And yeah, before my accident, I was working in my local town and then ended up moving up to London, having a good job there, and was very, very happy in my kind of social standing. I thought I was anyway. In terms of what success, what is defined as success when we're at school and things like that, the paycheck and the geographical location and where you work. So I was very happy with it.
Sorry, but with a name like Hardcastle, like what comes along with that? Do you have I don't know, I feel like that's such a, did you have expectations and what sort of work you'd end up in, or did you feel?
Not particularly I got lucky in terms of, I went to college and dropped out. It wasn't for me. And I got into the real estate space, and we kind of share that past as well, because of somebody who I knew who wanted to give me a chance, and that was something that I enjoyed because it was kind of people focused. So.
Alrighty. And yeah, okay. Thank you for some background there. But yeah, I guess so you're living the life, you've got a great job, everything seems to be kind of fine, right? And then you have this just devastating accident. Can you kind of walk us through that day, and what happened
Yeah,
exactly?
yeah, it was just like any other normal day. It was one that I I come out of London for the weekend, and I was visiting, mum and dad at home. Went to the pub like any other day. Went over to a friend's house and jumped on the trampoline. And something I'd done 1,000 times ended up in this freak accident where I dislocated my leg. And at the time, I thought I was very, very unlucky because it's an accident that doesn't happen all that frequently, and especially doing something that I had done, spent many hours doing. So yeah,
Wow.
like I said, yeah, it was a complete shock to the system to, just be after having this wave of success, what I at the time thought was success, and then to be kind of thrust back is, as there's the picture coming up now. Sorry if anybody's squeamish, but yeah, it's you can
Wow.
see my femur kind of trying to poke out as it's dislocated, and the paralysis that I spoke of is all the nerves that run down the outside of your leg, and they were stretched over the end of my femur.
Mm,
And the doctors were under the impression that it severed my nerve, so that everything below the knee was starting to atrophy. And I was very lucky that I didn't have to have my leg amputated, because 1 in 3 of those injuries, you rupture the artery that goes to your knee, and I wasn't even aware that of the biology of that location of the body. But so I thought I was seriously unlucky, but and that was kind of the start of the period where it got into me, and I was very depressed that my whole world had been turned upside down. But very, very quickly, in terms of my whole length of recovery, which was about 1.5 years, pretty quickly realized that I was actually very fortunate that I still had my leg. And that
mm,
was the another moment that really opened my eyes to perspectives and how important perspectives and state of minds are. And although this, we've called the session today is called Manifesting Miracles, because of what happened to me, and the power that flowed through me in that moment where I was healed.
mhm,
But it's important to remember that it was I believe it was very much a state of mind that
mm,
allowed this to happen, and it was a perspective that I kind of put the work into, really,
mm.
of feeling so unlucky, and then actually being completely blessed with having this, like I said, energy or whatever it was flow through me to allow me to heal, but also considering how lucky I was that I still had my leg altogether, which was huge, very
I
powerful.
see. So, yeah, after the injury, the kind of prognosis, even though you felt fortunate that you were able to keep your leg, but it was still a pretty grim prognosis, right? As far as you being able to use your leg in the same capacity, or yeah, talk to us more about kind of, I guess, kind of battling the grateful lens, but then also a huge hurdle thrown on you as well.
Yeah, so the physical side of things, I could bend my knee, but anything below that was dead and was in a state of atrophy, because no nerves were firing, no muscles were twitching or anything like that. So even within the first month, my leg, that picture's from about 8 months after the accident, where I had to go back for surgery, and they took out hamstrings from each leg and used them as ligaments. It was incredible, really, what they can do now. And they used it in ligaments to build my knee, put it back together. But the month, the 4 or 5 months after the accident itself, it was just you basically looking at bone with skin hanging off it. So it completely atrophied. So that's learning how to walk again was a big part of my prognosis after the healing.
Mm,
But in terms of the accident itself afterwards, immediately, I mean, it was crutches, and it was watching your leg kind of wither, which was the hardest thing to deal with. And in terms of being grateful that I still had it, but kind of
mhm.
heading in the direction of being disabled. And then I didn't even really want to think about what you do to a leg that withers all the way and then starts to die, because it just doesn't have that nervous system supporting it. So it was it was very, very hard. And
Wow.
yeah.
So during this time, is this kind of when you started seeking, I guess you said you started looking into kind of ancient civilizations and other kind of, you know, what was this time like? I guess I'm asking, was it something where at this point you had kind of awareness around, well, I can either, fret and sit in doom and gloom, or I can try and do something about it. Where were you kind of at this stage when you were, I guess, exploring healing, I guess?
Yeah, it was when the doctors stuck those electrodes in the front of my calf, sorry, in the front of my leg, in my shin, in the muscle there, and just turned up the voltage. And I remember I sat there with my mum, and she got very upset because that was kind of that final moment where it was kind of, this is it now. We kind of had hope up until then. So it was after that moment that I just had the realization, if I wanted something to happen, I'd have to do it myself. And my father has a big book collection, and like I said, I was back at home because I needed the help and the support of my mum and dad. So my dad has a big collection of books by Graham Hancock and Zachariah Stitchin, who do research and have a love for the old world, the pyramids and Machu Picchu and things like that, the feats of engineering that we can't necessarily replicate today. So I just started to think, what's possible? Of what were they doing differently, and what's possible for us if we were to approach life in a slightly different way, which it's a very diverse topic, but they did medicine in a different way, and that really intrigued me, especially because of the condition that I was in, and I didn't want it to be final, so I was just exploring all options, and I was very, very fortunate that it worked, and I managed to get myself into an open state of mind in order for it to allow it, in order for it to happen through me, as it were.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. I think the more and more I age and exist on this earth, I think I am starting to understand, as a human, we have to be open in order to receive. And I think just a product of modern society, many of us are, so rooted in these behaviors and patterns and just the monotony of day to day autopilot, I guess I like to say. Um, and so, yeah, I think when you start understanding, but I'd like to hear, was your exploration, other than just kind of research, did you get straight into meditation or practices? Do you feel that led you to, have this open kind of state of mind and not necessarily blocks in place and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, and I've mentioned natural medicines a couple of times, and the state of mind that I was referring to, where it happened, and I felt what I felt, and I experienced what I experienced of my nerves being unblocked, as whatever energy that holds us together, or keeps us going. It's almost like it got turned up when I was smoking cannabis at the time, and I tried to relax very, very much and meditate in the fact of just being within rather than kind of without. And what I mean by that is I just kind of I tried to let the whole world wash away and try and go back to that state of silence or peace within. And yeah, what I experienced is just like a bolt of lightning through the head, and it went through my body and out my toe, and the feeling that I had, is exactly like that. It kind of unblocked down through my leg, and then boom, out the toe, and I could wiggle my toe again, which I was told was impossible, and it's not something I want to, it's inexplainable. I don't want to say a proved manifestation works. Obviously, I wanted my toes to work, and I was trying over and over again, but it wasn't until I really tried to be in a state of mind where something actually happened, and it was certainly with the help of that natural medicine as well.
Wow.
Being an
Yeah, I think cannabis is such a powerful. I hope there's. I'm experiencing some feedback, but anyway, I appreciate you sharing that. Are you experiencing feedback, William?
No, I'm not getting any.
All right, I'm just gonna keep going. So after this experience, let's talk a little bit more. Were you just freaking out? Did you have to share with your family and friends? How did you continue down this path of, just making sure that you were getting stronger and more healed?
Yeah, I initially I didn't want to share the fact that what helped this kind of self-healing was cannabis, because I was a different person back then, and I felt that the kind of the pressure from the social circle that I was born and raised into, that it wouldn't necessarily agree with it. So it was hard for me to talk about how I really did get back on my feet, so to speak. But other than, that was the emotional side of things. The physical side of things, it was pure elation in the moment, like euphoric feeling of just pure joy, because, being able not to use a body part and then it coming back in an instant is just, it's, other than the sensation of how it felt, it's pretty hard to describe, other than just, euphoric, and then excited, being able to have a challenge of seeing how much of it I can get back. And today I've got, almost 100%. So it was a long road back, and it opened up another whole world of opportunities for me. It changed my life completely upside down.
I just wanted to chime in, because I know, just from talking to you, there's another story that was definitely another hit, literally. And I know that both of these circumstances ultimately, led to all the great things that we still have to get to. But yeah, I don't want to forget, the second piece of the insanity that happened to you. And I'm referring to the pub incident.
The pub incident. Oh, yeah.
With the brick.
Yeah, so I unfortunately, I just got blindsided, attacked when I was on a work night out. When I was with a work crew, and unfortunately somebody wasn't happy, and from what we can tell, it was unprovoked and just hit over the back of the head with a concrete block attached to a pole, and then stamped on the leg. And that was about 18 months, 2 years after my accident of my leg. So, and before then I was completely untouched. I was, you've mentioned my name earlier, and it's a great name. It's a strong name, and it's one that I've always felt has kind of been a shield of armor. And I wasn't too happy who was inside the armor. And then after my experience and my life since then, I kind of felt born again and very comfortable within my own skin. And we're going to get to it, but psilocybin has been a tremendous part of that. But going back to the accident, 2 years, I was just, it flipped my whole life upside down. And it was crazy that, I was back in the hospital with 15 stitches in the back of my head and a spiral break in my fibula. It was just a very crazy time, considering I'd been untouched for, like I said, 25 years and played a lot of rugby and never broke a bone or anything. And then something was either pushing me out of this country or desperately wanted to change my path. And it worked, whatever.
All right, we're going to try this. I'm not sure.
There you go. I'm sure that will help, having a remote mic. Hopefully it's not me. If it continues, I'll have to try something as well.
We'll see here. Okay. So yes. I feel like if there's just some major feedback, I hope people can hear us, but I think can you hear me okay at this level?
Yeah. It's still clear. Yeah.
let's get on. So, I kind of just have some slides here that um, I'd just like to share. I think if you could talk about that experience with the energy kind of flowing from the top of your head and out your foot.
Yeah.
Um, I think that a lot of manifestation involves emotion and thought. And yeah, I kind of just want to hear some of these practices that you, obviously we've connected because this incident or the incidents were just a huge catalyst for you to kind of understand yourself more and better
Mm.
and seek ayahuasca and have dozens and dozens of psilocybin experiences.
Right.
Um, I'd really like to hear your thoughts on, just journeying with medicine and knowing that you've already kind of conquered this major miracle. What other insights or what have you gleaned? What other magic has you've got this whole new life in the States. Talk to us about some of these synchronicities and other miracles, really probably as a result of the unfolding.
Yeah. The actual experience itself was very profound. It was because it was physical and I could actually feel it. So, I just tried my hardest to meditate, and then the feeling itself. I was a different person back then. Now I believe that we are in a universe that's held together by an energy that we don't understand, and that's what's really hit the top of my head like a lightning bolt, and I felt it pass through me. And in that moment, I suddenly became aware that there's so much more to this life that we are led to lead. And I'm a testament to that because I'm two different people because of one event. And now my idea and my vision of success is completely different, and my priorities are completely different. The miracles that happen in my life, I think, happen because I'm open to possibilities, whereas I wasn't before. After being what I thought was so unlucky, now I have an amazing, beautiful young family here in the States. I went from a white collar job to a blue collar job where I have skills. I consider myself more complete as a person because I've gone down through this journey with natural medicine, and I've experienced things that I never would have done because I didn't have the courage that I had beforehand by just accepting that there's something more and then having it flow through me. It was like a huge boost for what I am, not who I am, which was great.
I love this so much because I know so many people who do struggle, especially with change, losing a job or divorce or losing someone in your life.
Yeah.
It's so easy to just uh, identify as these losses or these changes. And, especially with the losing the job scenario, I've always been one to just believe, things happen for a reason and there's always a bigger door, and it might take some courage and some uncomfortability. But, it's just that this notion that you can sit and say, I lost my job and that's it. Or what's to come, what's to create, what.
Can't hear you, Maggie. There you go. You're back.
Am I back?
Yeah.
I'm just wanted to take a look at this next slide. It's such a trending word, neuroplasticity. But again, I think it's this whole idea of changing patterns. And any thoughts on this slide?
Yes, I couldn't agree more that there seems to be evidence in now that they're using things like psilocybin and other substances to increase creativity in the mind. So I think there's obviously a long way to go, but it's nice to see that the science is going in the right direction. A lot of it comes down to behavior, and again, that comes down to, you know, whether you're in a place in your life where you're, you know, ready to experience change. Change is scary, but it also, like it says there, it says change the possibility. And I think if you find a bit of courage to face parts of your life that you wanted to change, there are certain ways to have your hand held through that. And that's like with people like yourself, who is a coach in microdosing. It's a great way to start and be introduced into a whole new perspective of what's possible, for sure.
And I'd just like to add, you know, of course, change is difficult. And anybody who's suffering in any capacity, whether it's addiction or depression, injury, it can feel so isolating. And I think that it's just to remember that we're all hurting in some way. But I think that there's tools and resources that if you're open to discovering and learning more about, yeah, I mean, this is my whole testament to psilocybin. I feel that it has supported me through change and transition, you know, more than any human that comes to mind at the moment. And I don't know where I would be without the support of that medicine for myself. And, you know, I think that part of having this show, it's about education, but it's really about the storytelling, because you are providing inspiration of survival and not giving up. And you know, I love for you that you're in a continued exploration. And you know, just really, I wanted to talk a little bit about, you know, what you've built, kind of like your passion project, if you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the accident in itself sent me on a new trajectory in every sense possible. Like when we met for lunch the other day, and I said to you, if you would have shown myself 10 years ago, I would have said that that's almost impossible that it's going to happen, because like I said, I was in a white collar job. Now I'm in a blue collar skill based job, which I find far more rewarding. You know, I don't take any, you know, work home with me or anything. I just go there to perform. And you know, I was crunching numbers and doing real estate, sat at the desk, and now I'm a welder, fabricator. I'm a commercial diver, which is all really exciting. Now I've been able to chase passions because my perspective changed on what I thought I should be instead of what I thought I could be. And I was like, well, I can just do all these things because, well, something flowed through me to show that I have this power that I could heal myself. So now I'm not going to waste it. I'm just going to go out, do exactly what I want to do. And it's led to all these amazingly great things in my life that I have to remind myself every day not to take granted for, which I've got a lot of work to do as well on myself and that. So yeah, I mean, turn my life upside down. Commercial diver. I've got a pattern that I'm working on in that industry as well to hopefully change that industry and make it better for new divers to learn in a less stressful environment, more hygienic environment. And then, you know, purely almost in all that comes down to psilocybin for my passion project that you mentioned, which is Wanna Hug, which is, you know, I'm trying to help the homeless population here in the Twin Cities by getting conscious consumers to do more with their money and choose donations with their purchases. And just going out into the public. We had our first day's filming yesterday on Monday, and we were out starting a new mini series called Connection Conversations, and just asking people really simple questions that change their perspective on how they're going to approach their day. Just centered questions around the human connection and how we approach that and how we do things differently if it was up to us. Yeah, and that went really, really well. And I got to spend the morning speaking to strangers and invoking emotional responses and connecting with them physically. You know, a lot of them wanted hugs, and it gave me a boost for the day, and it seemed to put the smiles on and everybody who wanted to talk and be on camera. It changed their morning as well, and they were very appreciative of the fact that somebody wanted to hear about what they were struggling about, and
I
just
love that.
gave them a space to feel safe, and courageous, even to talk on camera. It's hard to do it, and especially when you're
Mm.
talking about how you're vulnerable. One lady was sharing about how she just lost her brother, and it was very emotional, but she appreciated having the space to share that, and she wanted people to feel heard if they're going through it too. So it was really nice.
Wow. And okay, so wanna hug, right?
Yeah,
WANNA hug.
yeah.
Um, and as long as I have this next slide up, I am going to bring us back into your miraculous experience because I am curious. I just like to offer listeners, some, I guess, insight. I like to get kind of like really into understanding people's practices.
Hmm.
And I wanted to know the, before kind of the energy surge, were you actively kind of practicing um, like meditations where you were envisioning or trying to feel as if your leg was working normally? I'm just curious.
I wasn't um, actually meditating, so to speak, but I would go throughout my day
Hmm.
believing that I would get my control back of my foot and lower leg. Um, I didn't until it happened. That was the first time that I laid down with
Mm,
intention to try and get into a state of mind. But since the accident, since I kind of came to terms with what was going on, so about a week after the accident, and then 5 months after that, I just every day I was trying to move it, and I was trying to unblock it. I was trying. So I think it was, what it could have been. I put the effort in, and then the universe was like, "You've put the effort in. I'm just going to get you over the line." Because I was just like I said, I believed truly in my heart and my head that I wasn't done. I wasn't going to quit, and this
mm,
was like a hurdle. It was just a new challenge. It was like a new hunger was born in me, and this was a challenge. It was not final. So I wasn't practicing the meditation, but I think my mental effort was what prepped me. I was just trying to be open to the fact that I was going to get it back, and I just almost convinced myself, and then something outside of myself, something way more powerful than myself, showed me a glimpse of what's possible. And that was the inspiration for me to go on and share the message, and try and do more to help others get that power within themselves, get a glimpse of it, and then change the way that they live for what they think is better. You still there, Maggie?
hello.
Hi.
Hi. Um, I'm curious about um, your, day to day. Do you try to keep up with some of these practices, or do you try to take time, I call it like just finding inner peace, like really turning that
Mm.
mind off, really trying to find this open, welcoming um, energy for myself. Is that something that you're still active in?
I certainly try every day, because I've never been diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure I have ADHD. So I'm constantly trying to stay present, and just be in awe really of this place that we're in, and that's something that psilocybin has really shown me. And whenever I'm having an experience, I try and make a point to be more present, and just to enjoy that. Um, Enjoy that we get to walk around in this dream every day. And like I said to you recently, I thought it was I believe it's a learning experience, and so every day is it's a blessing. It's easy to get corny and a bit cliche, but that's it's the exact opposite of who I was 10 years ago. But now it's an amazing place with lots of opportunity to learn.
Amazing. Well, I can't thank you enough just for, sharing all of it and also for putting up with some technical issues. Um, I wanted to just kind of pose some questions for whoever may be listening. Again, I think it's interesting that William and I connected. I have always thought, well, it took me kind of psilocybin and psychedelics really to understand that I could turn my mind off and I
Mm,
could change these negative thought patterns that have ruled my life before. And I think a big epiphany kind of moment that I had a few years ago was just this realization, you know, one way that just proves that we are all the same is we're all born with our consciousness, which
mm,
is, um, it's we're conscious creators. And so I've always said or had this notion, look, even if I'm paralyzed in a hospital bed, um, and I can't speak, and maybe I can't see, and maybe I can't hear. If my mind, I can use my mind to conjure feelings of joy and elation, and I just really want. I'm just trying to, bring awareness around this idea of really, what is this chatter? What is the program running in your head? Is it
mm.
nice? Is it a bully?
Right.
And if it is, let's take a moment, let's connect and share ideas around really turning that off and listening more with our heart.
Yeah.
And I think it's just something that can be a little cliche, or taking pause, let's meditate, let's
Yeah.
clear our minds. uh yeah.
Yeah. I found particularly with psilocybin is that it's a great place to do exactly all of what you just said, really. And it encourages you to face your subconscious and deal with things that you haven't even known you've buried, really.
Mm,
Or
mhm,
trauma, whether it's emotional or physical. It's a whether and you can do it with microdosing. You don't even have to have a macrodose. And for those who aren't listening, macrodose is, we tend to say 4 grams and up is a macrodose, and a microdose is anywhere from 0.01 to half a gram. Um, and yeah, it was just certainly for me. I would always, a lot of people talk about ego deaths, and I would regularly, and still do regularly, have ego deaths where I come, I finish the experience and I can have a completely different opinion about myself and who I was before then. And
mm,
that's how it allowed me to find my courage and be comfortable about who I really was, rather than just William Hardcastle. And that was, a lot of your perception is built from the outside, and it gave me that safe space to deal with my subconscious and build from the inside, give myself some foundations of who I really was. Because with my accident, my structure on the outside, it just crumbled, and it
mm.
was it was awful, because my life was just completely flipped upside down.
Well, I really appreciate the conversation around and your insight around ego death or ego dissolution. I think
Mm,
that this is also a conversation that needs to be normalized. I think the term alone can be absolutely terrifying to some people, but when we talk about it, just as friends do,
yeah.
um, I think there's it's a layered kind of process, but just this idea that we are, and sometimes we don't even know it, so wrapped up into our identity. And it kind of my idea around ego dissolution is almost more of a relief. It's
Mm,
almost more
yeah.
of, just kind of honesty around what actually matters. And
Yeah.
um, I think it's a beautiful process. And I think if we look at the nature of being human, it's all about death and rebirth, death and rebirth, death and rebirth, and on so many different layers and levels. Um, and that's what mushrooms do so beautifully.
Yeah.
They turn death into beauty, and it's all about transmutation and alchemy. And I think that, you are just a prime example of alchemy in real time. And again, just really wanting to reiterate, um, we call this manifesting miracles, but it really is doing the work to have the belief, to be open
Yeah,
to the
open's a big
miracle.
one. Yeah, open's a big one. I think if you're open to something, then you can either will it to happen or you can allow it to happen in your reality because you're open to something. If you think it's not going to happen, then I truly believe you have influence over your reality, so there's less chance of it happening. You know,
Mm,
it's just about ask, and it's easy to ask questions or speak to friends and have private conversations where you just, you can stretch your consciousness. You can talk about things that people don't want to talk about. I found it very, very healthy.
mm,
And I've kind of built a relationship with psilocybin over during those experiences. I have them with my loved ones, and it's sometimes a bit sticky,
mm.
because like it goes back to that identity. And where do we get, we look out into the world about the ideas of success and what authority means from people who we don't necessarily meet, and icons that have sway over our lives. And then going even further back to school, you kind of get put into a almost like a pigeonhole with what you're good at and what you're going to do with that skill set at such a young age. And psilocybin allowed me to be born again and
Mm.
step into who I could be and who I wanted to be, who rather than what my past made me, so to speak.
Yeah, and I like to, always remind everyone when you're working with the medicine, people are wanting and needing transformation, but I think it's just a gentle reminder, like this isn't about becoming anyone new at all. Like this is remembering who we are.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah,
um and I think that's exactly what the medicine does, but in a gentle way. And there's so many. It's such a beautiful medicine, psilocybin, because you can work with it so full spectrum from the
mm,
smallest amounts that offer just homeostasis and regulation, and but then really, when you're ready and um, being open to seeing what's illuminated in a deeper dive experience.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, I think it's really just learning about how to work with that medicine. And I know for me, both cannabis and psilocybin seem to soften me and seem to kind of turn this negativity down and just you know keeping the chin up, as they say.
yeah. Get you wired into the grid. That's how I always feel. I feel more
Mm,
with. I just feel so connected with nature, and
mm,
nature is such a good example of how we could treat each other in balance, and not taking for granted, whether that's resources or land. And it's just it's a very homing example for me that I find comfort in.
mm.
And especially when you feel scared, like when you're facing things about yourself or your own belief system, nature's always a good kind of place for me to go back to feel that peace and balance, even though it's more powerful than I could ever imagine to be. It's in perfect balance, and it comes back
Mm.
every year and grows and learns, and it goes, especially where we are, where it's an ice box for about 4 months of the year, and then come spring, it's this beautiful
Yeah.
reawakening, rebirthing. It just proves that it does it every year. And my journey's been from when it got flipped upside down in 2017. We're coming up to 9 years, but it just shows that with persistence, and I've done it in 9 years, but nature does it every year. It's a nice reminder to keep going.
Yeah. I admire you, and just the challenges that you've been through and what you've been able to overcome. But I think that you really do have such a special story and one that needs to be heard. You're an inspiration. Again, just to not accept these limits that I think past versions of ourselves easily would have. And, life puts us through trial and errors and failures. And um, at the end of the day, it really is about believing that you're gonna get by. Everything's gonna be okay. And
Yeah.
I just am so honored for you to be able to share this message with the listeners today.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me. And it's because of people like you that want to go out and coach people and help people who want to be helped as well. So we're very grateful for you as well. And yeah, it's been a great conversation, and I hope that it will inspire more people to be curious and do their own research. That's what I always tell people. It's good to have a conversation and listen to two people with experience, but you're going to learn a lot more by diving in yourself. And even it only takes a quick Google and then a 10-minute, and you will be amazed at how that will open up your mind to more questions, more curiosity, which is great.
A quick Google or a quick visit to explorenorthnode.com. We have an education section, and you can also download a microdosing guide for free. But yeah, I think it's lived experiences too, William. I think you can read all the research. I'm at the point where I'm like, we don't need more research, but I think people really want to understand and hear firsthand from, fellow microdosers or fellow 5-grammers.
Yeah.
But
I couldn't be more of an advocate for psilocybin. It's wonderful. It's changed my whole approach to life, and it's changed, how I have kids now. And if I hadn't have, I'm just grateful that I've done mushrooms. So, and had experiences with psilocybin, because I know that I wouldn't have my approach to, even my children the way I do now. So I'm very grateful. Go and try it. Your friend. It's your friend.
I appreciate that. My stance. But yes, always here to, if anybody ever has any questions or wants to talk more about the medicine or meditation or manifestation, please reach out. And yeah, we're just trying to create a platform, not claiming to have any answers, but really just trying to normalize conversation around all the beautiful miracles, and the lows and the darks and the highs and the light too. So I really appreciate you coming on here, William. And I just wanted to, real quickly, an invitation. We are having a North Node experience. It's women only. Sorry, William.
Okay.
But it's called Afterglow, and you can find out more information at Explore North Node /experiences. July 1st, it's going to be a ceremonial sauna experience, and we've got just a couple seats left, so please reach out if you're interested in joining. Anything else, William?
Nope. Good luck, everybody. Be curious and courageous. Have fun.
Alrighty, well, thank you so much for tuning in. Each week we're gonna get stronger and better and cleaner. Thanks for putting up with it all, and we will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.